Imagine waking up one morning to find that every thought you believed was your own is whispered to you by shadows you cannot see. What if the voice inside your head, that steady narrative guiding your choices, is not entirely yours? What if the people you trust, friends, family, even yourself, are silently manipulating the strings of your mind, bending your will without your knowledge? Here's the paradox. We pride ourselves on free will, on the sacred autonomy of our minds, yet countless unseen forces nudge, pull, and distort our reality with surgical precision. How can you claim freedom when the architect of your desires hides in the blind spots of your consciousness? Is manipulation always a sinister plot, or is it woven into the very fabric of human connection? Can you recognize the subtle tactics that erode your independence before it's too late? And if you fail, what fragments of your identity will remain? This is no ordinary question. It is a crucible that tests your awareness, your sanity, your very soul. What follows will pull back the veil on these invisible puppeteers, so you can see, resist, and reclaim what is yours. Are you ready to face the truth lurking beneath your certainty? The roots of psychological manipulation burrow deep into the soil of human nature and society, ancient, persistent, and often invisible. Carl Jung once warned of the shadow within us, not just the dark aspects of our psyche but the parts we refuse to see, where our vulnerabilities and blind spots dwell. Manipulators exploit these shadows, slipping past our conscious defenses by turning our own fears, desires, and insecurities against us. Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of the will to power, the fundamental drive to impose one's own meaning on the world. This drive, when twisted, becomes a weapon in the hands of those who seek to control others' wills without their awareness. Manipulation is not mere coercion, it's the subtle art of shaping reality so that the victim unknowingly chooses their own cage. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer described human beings as slaves to their desires and illusions. Manipulation exploits this servitude, camouflaging itself in the very instincts and emotions we rely upon to navigate life. It is a silent puppeteer behind the scenes, exploiting trust, love, and social bonds, the very things we believe define our freedom. Aldous Huxley's vision of a society lulled into submission through soft control resonates here. Psychological manipulation is not always about force, it is about persuasion so artful, so natural, that resistance seems impossible. It thrives in social norms, language, and culture, invisibly shaping what we accept as truth. Jean-Paul Sartre argued that human beings are condemned to be free, forced to choose endlessly, yet that freedom is terrifying. Manipulation preys on this anxiety, offering certainty in exchange for surrender. Viktor Frankl's insights remind us that meaning is a choice, even in suffering, but what if that choice is distorted by invisible forces that rewrite the script of our lives? This hidden force is not an external enemy alone, it lives within our minds, our relationships, and our social fabric. It reshapes identity and reality itself. And beneath this unsettling truth lies a question: how deep does this manipulation go, and how much of yourself is truly yours? The subtle, relentless hands of psychological manipulation reach far beyond whispered conversations or slick sales pitches. They infiltrate the very way you perceive reality, bending your thoughts, emotions, and decisions without you noticing. This is not a simple trick, it is a silent invasion of your mind's architecture, reshaping your world from the inside out. Cognitive biases, those hidden mental shortcuts your brain takes, are the fertile ground for manipulation. Confirmation bias lures you to favor information that fits your existing beliefs, while the bandwagon effect convinces you to follow crowds blindly. These are not flaws but evolutionary tools your brain evolved to save energy. Yet manipulators weaponize them, turning your mind's natural tendencies against you. Neurologically, the brain's reward centers respond not just to tangible rewards, but to social validation and emotional triggers. Manipulative words and actions hijack these circuits, triggering dopamine floods that mimic pleasure and reinforce submission. Suddenly, saying yes or conforming to the manipulator feels rewarding, even addictive. Culturally, you swim in a sea of conditioning. From infancy, you are shaped by language, norms, and media that frame what is normal, desirable, or true. This conditioning acts as invisible chains, anchoring you to collective beliefs and fears. Manipulation is not a deviation. It is embedded within culture itself, guiding masses like a shadow puppeteer behind the curtain. Consider how social media algorithms amplify emotional content, often polarizing, fear-inducing, or outrage-filled, to maximize engagement. The result? Minds fractured, empathy eroded, critical thinking dulled. Manipulation here is systemic, scaled beyond individuals to entire societies, fostering division, confusion, and helplessness. On a personal level, this silent takeover distorts your self-image. Manipulative relationships exploit attachment needs, twisting love into control, trust into dependency. Slowly, your sense of autonomy erodes, replaced by a creeping doubt: am I acting freely, or merely following a script written by others? This doubt fractures identity, fostering anxiety, depression, and loneliness masked as normalcy. But the deepest consequence is existential. When manipulation hijacks your meaning-making, your core narratives of self and purpose, you become a ghost haunting your own life. The choices you believe are yours become echoes of others' desires. The you that once dreamed, rebelled, loved, and created is reduced to a shadow flickering on the walls of a cage. And here lies the urgency. This cage is often invisible, the bars forged not from iron but from your own unexamined thoughts and feelings. The longer you remain unaware, the tighter these invisible chains become, until one day you awaken and realize you have been living a life scripted by someone else's design. But what if awareness is the key? What if the very act of recognizing these manipulative forces begins to shatter their power? This revelation, this awakening, is the pivot upon which your freedom turns. Before you can reclaim yourself, you must understand the depth of the labyrinth you are trapped in. The architecture of control, the mechanisms that pull your strings. Only then can you dare to rebel. The moment you realize you are not the master of your own mind is the moment rebellion begins, not as chaos or rage, but as a quiet, unyielding awakening. To break free from psychological manipulation, you must first shatter the illusions cloaking your awareness, then forge a new relationship with yourself and the world. Freedom is not the absence of influence, it is the conscious choosing of which influences shape you. Here lies the radical shift. Instead of fearing manipulation as an unstoppable force, you learn to perceive it as a challenge, a riddle you can solve through vigilance and self-mastery. Historical figures illuminate this path. Socrates drank the poison hemlock rather than submit to corrupt authority. Gandhi wielded nonviolent resistance to dismantle empire. Simone de Beauvoir refused to accept societal roles imposed on her sex and forged existential freedom. These rebels reclaimed their minds by refusing to be passive participants in their own subjugation. Begin with awareness. The manipulator thrives in the shadows, so shine light into the blind spots of your psyche. Question your automatic beliefs and emotional reactions. Why do you feel anger, guilt, or desire in this moment? Who benefits if you act on these feelings unexamined? Journaling, meditation, and honest dialogue are tools to unmask hidden influences. Next, reclaim language. Manipulation often uses euphemism, doublespeak, and loaded terms to distort reality. Learn to detect when words are used to confuse rather than clarify. Empower yourself by choosing your own words carefully, expressing your truth with clarity and calm. Set boundaries, not just physical but emotional and cognitive. Refuse to engage in conversations or relationships that demand compliance or erode your sense of self. Practice saying no without guilt. This act alone fractures the manipulator's control. Cultivate critical thinking as a shield. Train yourself to identify logical fallacies, emotional appeals, and social pressure tactics. Remember, true knowledge is provisional. Stay curious, open to revising your worldview based on evidence, not convenience or comfort. Perhaps most importantly, nurture self-compassion. Manipulation preys on shame and self-doubt. By embracing your imperfections and valuing your inherent worth, you build resilience against coercion. Viktor Frankl's insight, that meaning arises even amid suffering, becomes your anchor in turbulent seas. This rebellion is not a one-time battle but a lifelong practice. It requires humility to admit vulnerability and courage to confront uncomfortable truths. Yet, with each act of conscious choice, the chains weaken, and your authentic self emerges from the shadows. Imagine yourself now, standing at the edge of a vast forest, the dark labyrinth of manipulation behind you, the open sky of freedom ahead. Each step forward is an assertion of your sovereignty, a reclamation of your mind's territory. True freedom is not a distant prize to be won or a fortress to be stormed. It is a profound awakening, a radical acceptance that the only control you ever truly hold is over your own awareness. The most powerful realization is this: manipulation thrives not just in others' hands but in the silent consent of your unexamined mind. You are not a passive vessel to be filled or emptied, you are the living question, the restless searchlight scanning shadows for truth. This means every moment holds a choice, to awaken or to drift, to surrender or to rebel. No one can give you this freedom. It emerges only when you step beyond the illusion of certainty, embrace the discomfort of uncertainty, and fiercely guard the sanctity of your inner world. In this sacred space, you reclaim your narrative, your desires, your power, not by fighting external enemies, but by mastering the labyrinth within. Look deeply, the prison and the key have always been within you. The shadows that once threatened to consume your mind now illuminate the path to your liberation. Freedom is the courage to face your own darkness and say, "This is mine. I will not be controlled."